Welcome to Media and Society Online Orientation. This class is a 100% online class. As you know, even this orientation is online. I am recording an archive, but feel free to ask any questions anytime. You can type them, or you can even raise your hand, because my philosophy is that we all learn from each other, and also I find that the more interactive our classes are, the richer they are. You have a lot to bring to the table. I've done a little more studying than you have. I've probably had a lot more life experience, and am of course paid to teach this class. But I also acknowledge that all of you will have something new and unique to bring, and you probably have a lot of information. You're native media users and online users. You never knew anything different. So anyway, there's lots of, if you have any questions, I'm completely open to it. It's very interactive here. And if I miss, just come back and raise your hand again. This is the first class in its Journalism M01. It is CSU and UC transferable, and it's the first of several classes in the journalism major at Moore Park College. We also have what is called an AAT, which is a brand new Associate of Arts transfer degree that guarantees admission at a CSU and also sets you up to graduate in 2 years and transfer to UC. Even though it's specifically designed for the CSU breadth, it's almost the same as IGETC. There's a couple of little changes. Anyway, that's journalism. And here's why I give this pitch on journalism as a life skill. Because what you learn here and what you'll learn in other journalism classes is essentially that critical thinking stuff that you've been hearing about since you were a kid. It's a way to think about things, a way to be critical without being cynical. So you're questioning. You don't just swallow whole what you hear. If you hear some story on the internet, you want to know, because those things circulate all the time. You want to know, is it real? Is it apocryphal? What's your source? And so once you get into the habit of looking for the source of a material of information and checking for its validity, and also checking to see how much you as an individual, how much weight you want to put on that source, you're learning the kinds of skills and critical thinking skills of an informed media consumer. Now, one of the distinctions I like to make between being critical, questioning, wondering, asking, seeking the source, that's critical, and cynical. Cynical is just somebody who says, well, I don't read the paper, I don't vote, it's all lies, why should I bother? That kind of person, to me, that's just being lazy, because indeed there are differences in the many different media outlets, but it's up to the informed consumer and critical thinker to understand how to get there. So that's why I say the lessons that you learn in journalism will help you throughout your life. So what's this course about? What are we doing in this course? This is a survey course. That means that it's a survey of the mass communications. It means that we aren't going to delve deeply into one aspect. For instance, you're not learning how to write a news story in this class. There will be some writing. We have 4 assignments over the course of the class, so there's a little writing. And of course you'll have discussions every week, but it's not a writing class. It's a survey class of all the media of mass communications. And you see some of them there. Many of the media of mass communications are listed right there. Note that when we talk about the internet, we notice that it's got its fingers in just about every medium of mass communications. Magazines and books are online, newspapers are certainly online. Television we can look at online. Many of us don't subscribe to cable anymore. You just get it through Hulu or some other online service. You know, one of my friends was just telling me about something called free TV, and she'd watched not just season 1 and 2 of Downton Abbey, but also season 3, which is still now being produced. And no big deal to you guys, but anyway, I like that show. So anyway, you see that in today's world that pretty much all of the media merge and come together on the internet. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. We'll also look at the media of advertising and publication, or I'm sorry, in public relations. And we'll separate out these media between the media that seek to inform, like you hope the news media do, the media that seek to entertain, like most television and music, that's mostly for our entertainment. And then the media that seek to persuade, like advertising and public relations. We all watched, or many of us watched the Super Bowl yesterday, and some of us watched mostly just the commercials. And one of the things that we saw there, and we'll examine them later when we come to advertising, is the different techniques that they use to persuade and sell. And it's very interesting because one of the things that's so peculiar about where we've come to now with public relations and advertising is that consumers know when it's an ad and often will dismiss it. But if it's got humor to it, like many of them did, like for instance that GoDaddy ad, it had more than humor, it also had a little bit of, I don't know, discomfort when this beautiful model kisses some kind of, oh, I don't know how to describe that guy. Kind of a younger, maybe less savvy kind of guy. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys have a better way to describe what that kid looked like. But anyway, so there was that awkward moment, this big long kiss between these two very unlikely people to be kissing. But what it did, nerdy, okay, good. What it did, that commercial did, was, maybe without us really knowing it, got us to talk about it, got us to think about it, got us engaged. And so that commercial rocked, okay. A lot of, you know, I talked about it today in my on-site class. We looked at it, and some people were just completely disgusted. They just, I mean, it was as if one person was a, you know, some animal. It was very interesting to see the reactions. Anyway, so what this course is about is a survey of the many media of mass communications. Now, when we talk about media, we talk about them as a they and not as an it. Why do we do that? Well, the media are not one but are many. And that's something we need to keep in mind. If you think about just for a minute, pick any of those, any one medium on the left-hand side of the page. Magazines, for instance. There are many, many publishers of magazines, and then within the publishers there's, you know, thousands of people who work and write for the magazines. And the same with newspapers and news information companies. Tens of thousands of people who work at these companies. So for us to say the media try to sensationalize, or the media are trying to spin a certain event to make it more favorable to this president or to this candidate or that candidate, it's really kind of foolish to say such a thing. Can you imagine even getting all the people in your family to agree on presenting something in one fashion? Well, yeah, I can't either. So imagine if you're trying to get, I don't know, 100,000 people to agree to present the news in one certain way so that it looks better for one person. It's a ridiculous idea, and yet many people believe it. So one of the things that we're going to be working on this semester is looking at not only how media are perceived, but how the individual media, or each medium, handles information differently. And within those media, for instance, let's look at television news. Within television news, we see an organization like News Corp, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who is the international media mogul from Australia. And he has a very distinct unabashedly conservative point of view. Now, we would hope that that conservative point of view would show up in opinion pieces and commentary, but that it wouldn't be in news. Well, that's not the case with the Fox network, especially in the Fox newspapers. So we'll be looking at that, and we'll be examining sources to see whether the sources are biased. Do they really seek just to inform, or are they really trying more to persuade? Okay, enough. That took me a long time on that slide. Course goals. Now your objectives, the course objectives from the course outline of record are listed in your syllabus, so we won't go over all of those. But here are the goals, really: to become a thoughtful and informed and critical but not cynical consumer of the media. We're also going to, I hope you'll learn to routinely seek multiple sources and to understand the laws that govern the media, understand the threats to the First Amendment. I know many of us say things like, well, it's a free country, and so I'm allowed to think what I want or say what I want. And of course we know that there are limits on that, and rightfully so. We can't exactly go around libeling people or slandering people. But we can certainly criticize. Definitely we can do that, and that is because our media are separate from our government, we can do that. We can criticize the president if we don't like his stance on gun control, let's say. Gays in the military, anything. We can criticize him if we want to. We can advocate for his an opponent so that in the next election he's voted out of office. We can't advocate the violent overthrow of the government because they consider that treason. But we can advocate for him to be removed. We can criticize him publicly. And that's something that we can do because we have the First Amendment in this country. So we'll take a good look at First Amendment case law as well as the way it's implemented. Let's see, did I cover all that? And there's one right in the middle that's pretty important, and that says to understand each medium of mass communications as a separate independent entity, and to avoid the temptation to discuss all media with just one broad brush. You know, you can't just say that everybody believes the same way, as we talked about before. Okay. So the syllabus. I've sent you all the syllabus. It's also posted to our class site. It also includes the goals. It mentions etiquette, which really means don't use vulgarity or profanity, keep it clean, keep it comfortable for everybody. Cheating and plagiarism. In journalism, one good way to understand what plagiarism is that if it's not your original information, you didn't go out and report it yourself, then you have to say where it came from. If you're taking something, citing a source from a newspaper, from a study, from a journal, you cite the source. One of the things that we don't do, and which is considered plagiarism, is using someone else's ideas and then not bothering to say, oh, by the way, this really came from, Jean-Paul Sartre. And I'm just kind of borrowing it. Instead, you cite the author, and then you expand on it. It's easy to avoid plagiarism, but plagiarism is also pretty easy in this age of, in this digital age too. You can, find stuff online all the time. But if you're discovered, I really do report students to the dean for disciplinary action, and that does go on your record, and it stays with you. So better not to do it, just attribute. The Writing Center is we're online, so it's a little bit harder, but the Writing Center, I'll come back to your comment, Lucas, on the NDAA. The Writing Center is up on the 3rd floor of the library, and there are some online sources as well to help you with your writing or help you with your math. It's really, it's called there's the Writing Center, but there's also, what do they call it, Student Tutoring Center up there as well. Okay, and even though it's online, they want me to say no smoking on campus. It's up to you how you handle that. Okay, here's the way our course looks. It's about 25%. These numbers are a little soft, but about 25% is participation. That means participating in the discussions. Every week there'll be at least one discussion, most of the weeks 2 discussions, and you're required to not only do your original post based on the prompt, but then reply to others and read what they've written. You'll also work with a group during the course of this online class, and that sounds a little unusual, but actually it's doable. It does get a little messy sometimes, but it's definitely doable, and students online run into the same problem as students on-site or in the classroom working in groups, and that's that sometimes you get a great group and sometimes you don't have a great group. So you might have 1 or 2 people who don't carry their weight or things like that, and that happens in group work, and you know what, it happens in the real world as well. Even places like where I worked, where I spent most of my career before I became an instructor, was at the LA Times. And while I was there as a reporter, although I did fill in on the editing desk, but I never wanted to really be a full-time editor because then you got to sit at your desk all the time, whereas a reporter is out in the field talking to people and always doing interesting stuff. So that was always my preference. But even in a place like the Los Angeles Times, there are people who slack and there are people who do the work of 3. So you'll find that and we'll work through it, and it'll be okay. But it does happen. Okay, so participation, about 25%. Quizzes are pretty easy. They'll take you they won't take you more than 10 minutes because they're timed. So they time out at 10 minutes. They're open book, and you'll hear a lot of what's in the quizzes in the lecture that I'll do every week. You'll also see it in your text. I try not to make them something that you can just look up, like what was the date of the Ship to Shore Act. That's not what I'm not interested in busy work. What I'm looking for is confirmation that you understand the concepts that we're working on. So I tried to word them a little more, so they're a little more sophisticated than that, but some of them you'll see are pretty straightforward. What kind of online group projects are there? I'll give you the project in about 2 weeks because I need to make sure that our roster is fairly solid first. I don't want to create a group and then have 3 people just happen to drop the class and then 1 person is stuck doing the group. But it's a media issue, and you'll be assigned a media issue, and you'll research it, and then you'll work together on it, and you'll present it as both a PowerPoint and an online presentation. So I will ask you either to record it, which I hope you'll choose to do, and I can help you if you want to do it at the college. I can help you do that, or you can just do it like this, the way I'm doing it. And you can do it here in this program too. So you'll do the research, and then you'll present it, and then you'll moderate a discussion based on that. So that's what the group project is, and you'll get more details on that later. If I live in San Francisco, yeah, you can. It doesn't matter. We have somebody who lives in Germany as well. He's not here tonight because he came to the morning orientation, and traveling is no problem because I'm sure while you travel and while you're in San Francisco, you talk on the phone and you do email and you do Facebook. So you'll see as we get there, but you don't have to be synchronous in the same place at the same time. You can there'll probably be one of you will turn out to be the group leader and maybe send out assignments. Okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you send me your slides, I'll send you, I'll put them together and send it back. So there's lots of ways you can collaborate. Okay, and then the final's only 10% of your grade, and that's because I'm not looking so much to test you on memory so much as do you understand the concepts that we're doing in the class. Okay, a few keys to success, and then that's going to be a wrap for us. The first one is get the book. If you don't already have it, get the book. I do have it on hold at the library, but if you're online or in San Francisco or Germany, that's not going to help you. So I hope you've already ordered it. There's some used ones for fairly inexpensive if you order them online. But the quizzes, you'll need to have read the book for the quizzes and also to understand the lecture. What I suggest people do, oh good, you have a book. what I suggest people do is it's great if you've got the time to go ahead and read the whole chapter ahead of time. You can get an online, you can buy the chapters individually. It's just Google this, the name of this book, Media and Culture, 8th edition, and you'll see it'll come up with the publisher and the different options, the different ways to access it. You have to pay for it. But anyway, you'll need it for reading and for taking your quizzes. But what I was starting to say is I suggest that you read the chapter all the way through if you can, and if you can't, you can read it as you go through the lecture. My weekly lectures aren't this long. I keep them to 20 minutes, and you can kind of go through the book as you go through the lecture if you want to do it that way. But it's best, of course, if you can read the chapter ahead of time before we start talking about it. Another key to success, and this one's so important, set aside time for your class. Are many of you experienced online class takers? How many of you have had online classes before? I'm going to wait for you to respond. Okay, there's one. And Ashley? Wow, 4 online classes last semester and 6 this semester. Okay, looks like we've got a pretty good mix of people who are new to the online environment and lots who are experienced. So those of you who are experienced and successful, you can share tips. And yes, Leora is saying they're hard to keep up with if you don't set aside time. So here's what I suggest. Set aside a regular time 2 to 3 times a week to attend your class. Put it in your phone calendar or on your computer as a calendar item that says, you know, I don't know what time, 2 a.m. depending on what your hours are. I'll come back to the lecture. Anyway, that you're going to work in your class. So just set that time up for yourself and just stick with it. Make it almost inviolate so that you always know, you know, this is the time I work on my class. Ryan is asking, is Wednesday the only time for the lecture? Wednesday morning is when I'll record it, but I'll record it as an archive, and then you can access it anytime, whenever is good for you. And if it turns out that this class would like me to set up a nighttime office, not nighttime, but like evening office hour to be online, I can do that too. Or I'm also available if you send me an email and say, hey, can we talk online, or can we talk, or I'm always available for questions. Yes, actually the lectures, well, I do them live every week, but you aren't necessarily there. When I record them live is on the Wednesday morning. Again, I can be flexible about that, and I could set it up for another time if that would be better. But mostly the lectures, I record them live, and anyone can come when I'm recording them and ask questions as we go. And then I just post the recording so that people, in Germany can, or San Francisco, or traveling can watch them and listen to them whenever they like. So set aside the time. Put a calendar item in your, a calendar reminder in so that you know, okay, it's, Thursday at 10 p.m. This is when I do my Media and Society class. Another key to success is get to know desire to learn. Oh, I'll come back to that, Andrew. Get to know desire to learn so that you're familiar with it. Give yourself time. You don't want to be signing on to do all your discussions and turn in your assignment and take your quiz 5 or 10 minutes before the deadline. If that happens, you're just kind of out of luck. Because people, if you send me a note that says, my internet went down, I really don't have any way to test that or verify that or know that. So I just suggest that you don't, you've got 7 full days, and on the 7th day it goes all the way up to midnight. So, give yourself enough time so you don't run into that problem. If ever, though, it is a system problem, then you will not be penalized for that. Okay, Andrew's asking, if he watches the recorded lecture, how will he get participation points? Participation comes through discussion, by doing the discussions and meeting with your group, whether meeting in person or online, and actively working with your group. So you don't actually get points for coming to a lecture, just like you don't really get points for showing up in a classroom. But you do for the participating in the discussions. Okay, so another key, get your speakers ready so that you're ready to go. And remember that late quizzes, I don't reopen quizzes. I just can't reopen a quiz. Occasionally an assignment will get an extension if, depending on what's happening in our course. But with quizzes, each one is worth 5 points. There are 12 of them. So my response to you will be, gosh, I'm really sorry that happened, but there's other, you'll have a chance for extra credit. Or it's only 5 points and it's a small, a small part of your grade. But I just don't reopen quizzes. It's just too much of a can of worms. Okay. Okay. So most of you should be somewhere in your early 20s and you remember Woody and Toy Story. Okay, I'll come back to discussions. Actually, for this kind of question, would you hang on until I'm talking about discussions? Let me come back to that one. I'll come back to that one. Okay. No, don't be sorry. It's fine. I'm glad you're asking questions, but if I forget to come back to that one, remind me. I think I'm going to get there. But so this business about a study buddy, and I know you must remember Buzz and Woody. And do you remember at the beginning of the movie, they're getting ready to move, and Woody doesn't want any toys to be left behind, and so he says, if you don't have a moving buddy, get one. Well, I'm saying if you don't have a study buddy, get one, and you can do that through the class list online and all kinds of different ways. But the main thing is, I'm very quick usually. I say within 24 hours to answer an email, but often it's within a couple of hours. But I'm not online at 11 o'clock at night when you guys probably are, or 2 o'clock in the morning. And some days, often I sign on before I go to work, like 6 o'clock, but some days it's just a burn. It starts and I run all the way till the end. So better to have somebody else that you can ask to for questions about the class. Okay, let me see if I'm going to get to, let me finish these keys to success, and I'll come back to the question of discussions. Okay, fifth one is do the setup on your computer. You probably all had to do the setup to get here, but just make sure you don't have any pop-up blockers blocking for these lectures or even in your course, because if you're using a browser with a pop-up blocker, your quiz won't act right, and certainly your lecture won't. And remember, you have to do that for each computer you use. It's connected to the computer as opposed to your sign-on, because it's checking to see what software and what privacy settings you have and all that. So make sure you do that. Another key to success is don't freak out. If the system is down because of something that a system-wide error, or if let's say a quiz is closed because of my error, and that does happen where I've forgotten to open something, or I've got several classes, so sometimes I'll open something and I'm certain it's all taken care of, and then it turns out, oh, I opened it for the wrong class or something. So it doesn't happen too often, I hope, but it does happen. So if you're online and something doesn't work and you're before the deadline, send me an email and say, hey, this wasn't working, and you'll never be penalized for my error or for a system error. Last key to success is, I think it's the last one, is participation. Make sure you're signing in. There's no requirement that you sign in 3 times a week, but then that way, if you're signing in, you can see what other people are posting in the discussion, and you can be more interactive. Our due dates are Sunday before midnight, Sunday 1 minute before midnight, and that is for your quizzes, except for the orientation quiz, but all other quizzes, and also your discussions and your assignments. Okay. All right. So for today's assignment, I'll tell you that at the end. So if you weren't here in the very beginning, hang in there so that I can make sure that I have you on the list. So where do you find stuff in this class? You're going to go to course resources and then go to content. So I'm going to navigate there as soon as I'm going to go through a couple more slides, and then I'm going to do what they call sharing. But it's kind of slow and a little clunky, so I want to finish this first and then we'll go do that. But what you're going to do is you're going to see everything on the content page. So you sign into the Desire to Learn, then you go to the tab across the top. It's called Course Resources, and then you sign into Content. And on the content page you will see discussions, assignments, quizzes, and assigned readings. Now, somebody had a question about discussions. No. If you go look through all the discussions or the assignments, you're free to do that. I don't close them off. But it's like kind of like looking in a closet, really, because everything will be presented 1 week at a time, and that will be on the content page. So everything will be linked there. If you want to go through and look at some of the discussions, that's okay with me. As I said, I don't mind. But for each week, it'll be linked to the content page. For instance, this week you'll have a discussion on your self-introduction and posting a photo to the class list. And so you'll see that posted as a link to the content page. They're not necessarily in order when you go to the discussions. Did that help you? So some of them are 2012 because I don't open them, and most of them, I'm sure all of them are going to be 2012 except for the current one, because I don't open them and set their dates until we get there for that week. And the reason I do that is that this is an interactive course. It's not a course that's set up like a correspondence course where you can either do it in 3 weeks or 3 months. Then we'd have no interaction, and that's not the way this course is set up. So it goes week to week. Every week a set of an assignment and discussion, not an assignment every week, but a discussion, and also reading and a quiz will open up. So it's a week-to-week setup. Did that answer your question, Madison? Good. And it looks like Bree. At the end, I already took attendance for those who were here at the beginning. So if you weren't here at the beginning, hang on, because I'll get your name at the end of the discussion here. Okay, we just went over this. Where do you find stuff? You go to Course Resources, Content, and then it's all posted there. Assignments also are posted from the Content tab, so Course Resources, Content, and that's where you submit them. You don't email them to me or just post them anywhere you can find it. You submit them to the assignments page to the specific spot. You'll see that when we get there. Most of the assignments are asking for analysis or compare and contrast. And I want to caution you now, I've had some students who've been unsuccessful in the past because what they've tried to do is just do the quizzes, or maybe just do the discussions and the quizzes and skip the assignments, which are, of course, the hard work, because that's where you're actually doing all the thinking and you have to write stuff out. Well, I don't know if you remember from our grading page, but if you don't do the assignments, you'll get a D at best. So you can't really do well in the class without doing the assignments, and so that's fair warning. It's like a regular class. If you just go and sit there and don't turn in the work, you're not going to pass. And it's the same thing here. You have to do the work to pass the class. It's not difficult, but I hope it does make you think. Discussions also from the Content tab requires you to post your original post based on the prompt, read at least 5 others, and then reply to a minimum of 2. And of course you can reply to as many as you want, but 2 is the minimum. And that is a graded assignment. Quizzes, where do we access the quizzes? Just like the assignments and the discussions from the, anybody want to chime in? Content tab, yay! Thank you, Andrew. Exactly, right, Taylor. Thank you. Whoa. Yeah, the Content tab. And the reason I'm saying that is that people always do kind of get lost, especially in the beginning in a class. So, Course Resources, Content. Okay, and quizzes are timed, as I said. They're pretty easy. A lot of people finish them in 2 or 3 minutes. They're open book, of course, but again, they're I hope I've designed most of the questions so that it's not something that you can just look up. Okay, how to find me? The best way is email. Or you can class mail me or email me, but if you would please put in the subject line Media and Society. And the reason I would like you to do that, it's even better if you put Media and Society online. The reason I'd like you to do that is so that I can find your email. I get 40, 50 emails a day from school and various issues connected to the student news media, because I'm the advisor for our campus newspaper and news media. So I get lots of emails in a day. But if you put Media and Society, it's a lot easier for me to just search at the end of the day and find it. So best even Media & Society, and if you put online, all the better. So I guarantee you, unless I've given you notice ahead of time or unless I've missed your email, that I'll get back to you within 24 hours. And as I said earlier, usually it's way faster than that. You can also, if you call my office, I'm either not there, or when I'm there, I'm with a student. So if you call, and I only check that email or that voicemail like once a week, so way better just to email me. And email or class mail, please put Media and Society in the subject line. Thank you very much. So in summary, I think it's going to be a fun class. It's going to be an interesting class. Some of the stuff we're going to look at is whether the media in today's society shape it or more reflect it. How are mores set? How are they reflected? How are they created really, and how are they perpetuated? We'll also look at the different kinds of media, not just by each individual medium, though we'll certainly do that, but we'll look at the media that seek to inform, straight ahead inform, those that seek to entertain, and those that seek to persuade. And as I mentioned before, advertising and public relations are an example of those that seek to persuade. It's fast because we're an 18-week course that's compressed into actually 13 weeks, not 14. So make sure you set aside time to attend your class, normally a 3-unit, and this is a CSU UC General Ed transferable class. So a 3-unit class would have 3 hours in class plus 6 hours outside work. So plan, set aside some time. Deliverables are Sundays at 11:59 p.m. Arrange yourself accordingly, please. Again, it's a survey course, so no term papers, but we will have papers. We will have some individual assignments that need to be written at the college level, so no text speak. I expect paragraph marks. I expect periods. I expect stuff spelled right. One of the things to remember is that if you make it easy on your instructor to read and understand you, usually your instructor is much more inclined. It's easier to give you a good grade if you're easy to understand, so just keep that in mind. And in this class, students add to the content. You will no doubt bring oh, Lucas has a good question. Let me answer that in a minute. You will no doubt bring to this class a lot of your own knowledge that will enhance the whole class when you share it. So that's one of the things I love about teaching online is that everybody participates in discussions. Whereas in a class, even if you do group work, which I always do in small groups, you still only hear from a few people. But in an online class, you get to hear everybody's thoughts. So that's one of the things I like about online. So it is your course, so let's make it a good class. Lucas asked, can we write for the campus newspaper? And yes, it is a separate class. It's a 3-unit class, Journalism 10A. 70999 is the CRN. It's already begun, but if you are interested, please email me or talk to me after the lecture because our dean is willing to allow late adds to that. I should also make one more announcement, and that's that we do have another journalism class that's open, and that is called Digital Storytelling. And it's a great class. The instructor is very recently graduated from USC Graduate School of Journalism, the Annenberg School, so it's an incredible program. And she's wonderful. And what you'll learn how to do is essentially tell journalistic stories and nonfiction essays with video and audio and infographics and other digital media. So it's very cool. It meets Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're interested in that, send me an email and we can talk about that. Okay, so any other questions or comments on the class? I think I covered everything. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'd love an evening discussion. The groups won't be set up for about 2 weeks because we want to make sure our enrollment is stable first. The dates on the website are wrong, meaning what, Ashley? Like on the assignments and those things and the discussions? Yeah. Because remember, as I said earlier, I open the discussions 1 week at a time. So one week at a time, that's when you'll see them become current. Okay, guilty media pleasure, that will be this week. It's not, I haven't opened it yet. What's open now is the discussion, which is the next thing on our PowerPoint, and that is that there are 2 things to do, and one of them is going to be take the orientation quiz, which I'd like you to sign on and do right now, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And then the second one is to do the discussion, which is a self-introduction and posting a photo. So let's go right now. I'm going to turn on this, what's called laptop sharing. Someone posted, okay, we already got that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share my desktop. Okay, now you should see up on your screen a quiz. Is that right? Okay, desktop sharing, okay, good, you saw the quiz. Now you should see the home page where it says prep for the orientation. And I'll try to go slow. So the next thing is, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go to find the quiz? Can somebody tell me? Content, thank you. Okay, and then we come down to table of contents. And click on this week. And yes, this guilty media pleasure will be open, that discussion. And then actually the quiz isn't here, so I will put that up. I had some problems when I imported this course. There were some problems because this is a brand new version of Desire to Learn. So I apologize for that. But anyway, what you'll see is the quiz will show up right here. Actually, I'm going to do it as we're here so that you can actually take that quiz, whoever wants to, or at least see how it's done. So I'm going to go back to the content, and I am now, you're not going to be able to do this, but you'll see that I can do it. I'm going to add this quiz. That's not what I wanted to do. In this new system, it's called a new activity, which it wasn't called that in the other system. So okay. Now that will be, here I'm going to move that up. That should be at the top. Let me see here. me just move that quiz up so that... Did my quiz just disappear? Madison says you have it. Okay. Well, I'm going to work on that when you're not all waiting for me. But what we'll do, normally what you're going to be able to do is find that right here from this spot. And I really don't understand why it's not showing up here. Okay. So you click on the quiz. Are all quizzes posted under the quizzes under assessments as well? The quizzes are there, but remember that each week they'll be linked to the content page so that you know what is due when. Okay, does that make sense? So you can go through and look for quizzes if you want to, but on the content page, that's when you're going to see, okay, this week, well, let's look at it. Here's what it says. Course introduction, coursework due Sunday, February 10th, 11:59 p.m. So then you know that everything is here is due that week, rather than having to go look in quizzes and see what's there, and look in our assignments and see what's there, and look in discussions. Instead, it's all posted, it's all linked right here to the content page. Okay, so we're going to look at this quiz. That's going to look a little bit different when you do it. Let's see, I can do a preview. Sure, we'll do a preview. Okay, and this is kind of what it's going to look like. Once you're all set, you just do Start Quiz. And you'll have to say Start Quiz. And then this is how it's going to look. It's recommended that okay, what does it say? That you save your response. You can save it here or you can save it later. So this class is 100% online, right? Right. And remember that this quiz is really kind of designed to help you get familiar with the whole system. It's not supposed to be tricky. Where do you go to find out what is due that week once you sign into the class? Should you go to the Assignments tab, the Quiz tab, or the Discussions tab? Or I've got the Course Resources and then the Content tab. I know you guys know. It's going to pop up any minute. People are going to start saying content. Right. Course Resources and then Content. Exactly. Okay, discussions. And so you can see, discussions are due when? Quizzes, assignments, and discussions are due at 11:59 p.m. on what day? Yep. In this class, you can expect to read a chapter from the text, take a quiz, engage in a discussion every few weeks, every other week, or every week. Every week, good. Oh, Guadalupe, good. And Raylene, okay, good. Let's see, plagiarism. And yes, this is true. Okay, basically this question says that the instructor will reopen a quiz anytime you ask. So is that true or false? Yeah. Nope, I don't reopen quizzes. You are correct. Lectures are part of the weekly coursework. They're archived, so you can listen to them whenever you want, and they are live Wednesday morning at 9:30. True. Good. You guys are good. And I try to get back to you within 24 hours. And please always put Media and Society in the subject line. Okay, good. It's always best to give up and freak out if you can't figure something out, rather than going back and saying right, false. So but I will tell you this, that sometimes it is a system problem, but often it's just that you didn't read the directions right or something like that, and with an online class you really do have to read stuff carefully. So we'll give that one a big false. And among the most important concepts is, which one do you think it is? Yes, you're right. Give yourself plenty of time. That's huge. Sign in. Make sure you attend your class. All right, let's see how we did. And we will submit the quiz. So we saved our responses, and now we're submitting the quiz. You won't have to check this, but I did. Okay. But you do have to submit the quiz. All right, and it looks like, well, we're a great team so far. It looks like we got them all right. Yay, 5 out of 5. Okay. So any other questions about how to take the quizzes? About how to take the quizzes, or where you're going to see all your nice smiley face from Victoria. You're going to see everything on the content page. But I do want to mention this. This week I will also ask you to complete a discussion. And that discussion, which I'm hoping is here, is the guilty media pleasure. That's one of them. The other one is, that's another one that's not posted here. You know, I went through and did all this, so I'm going to have to look around to see if it got posted, put in the wrong spot or something. But the second one you're going to see on the course schedule here is you're going to see a discussion that will be called Self-Introduction and Photo. And what it's going to ask you to do is post, remember how we talked about discussions, your original post, read 5, and reply to 2, at least 2. So that's that on the discussion page. But then the part 4 of that is to go to what's called our class list, which is also on the course resources. And you can see this. And then what I'd like you to do there is, it looks like a lot of people have already done it. Ashley has, Blake has, Yesenia, good. Guadalupe, good. Is to go in and upload a photo. That way we can get to know each other a little bit better, and that way your photo will show up whenever you're in a discussion. So that's the photo that people will see, and we'll know who's talking. It just kind of puts a face with a voice. Okay, good. There's lots of people who have already put their photos in. Excellent. Now, I don't know. I have to look at that one to see if it really looks like Joseph. And this one, Lucas, is this a picture of you? Occupy the library. Chain yourselves. Yes, okay. Chain yourselves to the bookshelves. Okay, so you're advocating an Occupy library thing. Okay, that sounds fun. Could be interesting for our class. All right, looks like Daniel plays. Is that a guitar strap? Hard to see. It's a small picture. All right. All right, so that's it for now. So you'll have, and you'll see it posted to the content page. I'm sorry that's not there now, but so you'll have a quiz, a self-introduction, and guilty media pleasure. And then also this week, because we're a late start class, you're going to see, I'll go back to the content page, you're going to see that there is also an assignment to go ahead and start reading, to read chapter 1, and then I'll post that for later in the week after Wednesday, and then you'll see that there will be a quiz to go with chapter 1 as well. So let me see if I can get to, if that shows up. Huh. All right. So anyway, that's the summary for today. For now, it's self-introduction and photo, take your orientation quiz, and then you're going to do before Sunday your guilty media pleasure and also your Chapter 1 and Chapter 1 quiz. Any questions? Comments? Did I confuse anybody? Okay, good. I hope, would everyone please, so take your, I'm going to take our, let me get rid of this application sharing here. And I'm going to get everybody's name down now so that, oh. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay. So is it still doing an application sharing? Probably is. Okay, and hey everybody, remember to take the quiz tonight. So can you still hear me now? Because I can't type anymore. Audio and visual is still working. Okay, good. Okay, so final words are remember to take the orientation quiz tonight. All other materials are due before midnight on Sunday. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thanks to everybody. You're going to be, go team go. You're going to be a great class. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to a good semester of learning. All right, everybody, thanks again, and be sure to check back on the content page. Thanks so much.